I recently had the chance to analyze an AI-generated video recreating the ultimate showdown between Homelander and Hancock. Visually, the video's quite convincing. The faces don't match 100%, but I assume that's due to the limitations of the filters being imposed lately on generation tools. Now, if we're talking about the lighting, the physics of the impacts, and the scale of the urban destruction, honestly, they are impressive. However, after processing the content carefully, I realized there's a deep dissonance between what the image proposes and what power logic dictates. I personally do not agree with the outcome of that simulation. Why? Well, because in reviewing the comments section, I noticed a very clear pattern. The majority grants the victory to Hancock almost by instinctive reflex. But if we dive into the architecture of the debate, you realize that decision isn't born from a real power analysis, but from an emotional reaction. The audience wants to see Homelander's downfall because they've transferred Anthony Starr's recent controversies to the character's identity. But here, we're setting the gossip aside to perform a technical skills analysis. We're going to understand who, under the fundamental laws of their own universes, would be the last one standing. We must be clear that Homelander is the pinnacle of Vought's biological engineering. He's an organism designed for the control of incredible abilities. And on the other side, we have Hancock, a being whose nature seems anchored outside of human physics. In his own movie, he's considered some kind of god. So the core of this clash is how their natures interact, a being designed to be perfect versus a being that simply is absolute. We're going to break down this clash into 5 critical nodes before reaching a verdict that's going to demolish many of your certainties. So, without further delay, let's begin. In Hancock's case, we have no technical records of his origin. Other than that, throughout different eras, he has been labeled a god or an angel. His nature is divine and immortal. His extreme invulnerability presents no risk as long as he stays away from his female counterpart. It shows no detectable fissures while he remains distant from her. We're talking about an elemental power that doesn't depend on a measurable biological fuel. His existence is a universal constant. Homelander, for his part, is a singularity. He didn't just receive Compound V, he achieved a gestational fusion at a genetic level so balanced that his system exceeds all known limits. His structure was replaced with a new and improved one. He's the highest point of applied science, and his capabilities, though they have a biological base, border on the miraculous. Now, in a real-world scenario, experience decides the victory, but both subjects have a critical vulnerability in their minds. Hancock is a millennial being with centuries of conflict on his shoulders, but his memory was shattered and reset. He doesn't remember who he was or his techniques. This turns him into an amateur with divine-class power who fights mostly by pure instinct and muscle memory, wasting energy in his erratic movements. Homelander isn't a trained warrior either. He's a predator who has never faced a real challenge. His psychology is that of a bully accustomed to his opponents disintegrating on the first impact. He never needed technique because his brute force has been the ultimate solution. Though in his few observed fights, you can see he manages to develop good skills under pressure. In this regard, there is basically a technical tie. They are two heavyweights throwing punches into the void. The difference is that Homelander is a focused and sadistic predator, while Hancock is a man who's a bit confused, trying to understand his place in the world. Entering the technical zone, we ask ourselves something extremely interesting. How is it possible that a character like Hancock, a god on Earth, is affected by alcohol? I would say his vulnerability isn't static, it's reactive. He possesses an accelerated cellular regeneration factor that seems practically instantaneous. But alcohol or any chemical product proves that his system has a processing rate, meaning his regeneration has a limit that can be collapsed if he's constantly overwhelmed. Homelander, on the other hand, is a sealed fortress. His system is robust both on the surface and in the internal structure. Poisons designed to neutralize Compound V barely irritate his metabolism. He doesn't depend on constant regeneration. His structure is inherently resistant. While Hancock processes the damage, Homelander is simply difficult to infiltrate at a chemical level.
In the heat of a fight, the advantage goes to whoever has better sensors. Homelander has an overwhelming tactical advantage thanks to his X-ray vision and ultra-developed hearing. He can perform a pre-scan, read heart rates, and anticipate movements. His heat vision is a tool for distance control. Hancock is a physical fighter who depends on contact. Homelander can attack vital points from the air, keeping Hancock at bay while he analyzes his weaknesses. Technically, it's Homelander who decides when the gap is closed. reaching the point where Hancock's psychology breaks the logic of brute force. His true nature doesn't reside in his muscles, but in his never-give-up style. Hancock has a particularity, and that is, despite the isolation and the rejection, he kept helping. His body regenerates because his mind, even shattered, demands that he stay on his feet. To conclude this, who would be left standing? Definitely, time is what would decide the battle. In a short-term encounter, Homelander is the undisputed winner. He has the aggressive focus and the tactical tools that Hancock has never tested against someone of his caliber. Basically, we have never seen Hancock fighting an equal, ever. In a 3-round fight, Homelander would annihilate him before Hancock can even process what is hitting him. But if the battle drags on, Hancock's resilient nature rewrites the rules. Even more so if he finds a purpose in the heat of said battle. His factor of constancy, of always getting back up, makes him practically unbeatable. No one can deny that Homelander is powerful, but his biology is finite. Eventually, his mind, that of a man with complexes, would start to waver. In the end, Homelander would exhaust himself physically and mentally, while the god who doesn't know how to surrender would keep moving forward. Hancock has the persistence and the eternal power. Homelander has the absolute power. But in a war where time is the judge, the one who gets back up always ends up burying the one who tires out. So there you have it, my verdict. If you have a different opinion, I look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. I'm Cyber, and this is Alien Legacy. I'll see you in the next video.